At first, I was a little bit confused about how they resolved the plot with the Midnight Entity. I didn't quite understand how looking at itself defeated it, but on second watch, I did hear the line, if the thing behind it is destroyed, what if the thing behind it is itself? And so that did kind of work for me when I realised what they were getting at and what they were trying to do, but at first I thought that it was just the creature looking at itself and that somehow defeated it. So on first watch, it didn't quite work for me, but like I say, I kind of understood it after the second time. I also like how this was set up earlier on in the episode with how good of a shot Shaya is, or Shaya, I can't remember exactly how you say her name, which also comes back later on in the episode when the Midnight Entity possesses Belinda. And I also think them having to wait for the airlock and someone getting possessed is very well set up by the fact that when they first arrive, it's established that the airlock can only fit in 6 people at a time. And the Midnight Entity possessing Belinda at the end of this story was a nice twist that doesn't really last for very long, but I think it still works. And Shaya sacrificing herself to save them is also a very nice moment. This is probably my least favourite Mrs. Flood cameo in this season so far, because if an older woman showing up in every episode isn't already similar enough to last year's Susan Triad mystery, this particular instance of it immediately made me think of Susan Triad showing up on the monitor in Space Babies. And it also just feels very different to previous Mrs. Flood cameos, but maybe this will make sense when we find out who she really is. So let me know your thoughts on who you think Mrs. Flood might be in the comments down below. Personally, I think this episode could have ended with the zooming out shot of the Doctor and Belinda in the TARDIS when they're lying on the TARDIS floor, but then I suppose we wouldn't have had the tease of the Midnight Entity surviving and the Mrs. Flood cameo at the end, which they seem to be trying to make sure is in every episode for this season. I just personally think it would have been a better emotional moment to end this episode on, especially considering this episode seems to be overrunning a little bit in comparison to the other episodes this season, with this episode being around 48 minutes long and the rest of them being around 45 minutes or less.